Hi, everyone. Remember the practice we have called Being With? It's in the Practice of Loving Presence series of exercises. And it's a way of sitting with another person and moving through three phases of self study. It's a Hakomi practice, but it's something that we can all do. And certainly at a time like this, when there's so many challenges arising for each and every one of us, we're in a global situation which is changing our whole way of living, and we have no idea for how long. So, let me invite you to a variation of the loving presence practice we call Being With. And for this version of it, I'd invite you to start by simply closing your eyes and tuning into yourself. Tune into whatever your experience is right now. What's being triggered? What's evoked? What's arising? What's there that's been there all along or for a long time? And sometimes the first thing you turn your attention to are your thoughts. Notice where your attention seems to go first. Perhaps it's to a line of thinking. Perhaps it's to memories. Maybe you're thinking about something that's coming up in the near future or even in the next few minutes. Notice also what's happening in your embodied experience, in your sensory experience. You might notice, for example, sounds around you, besides listening to the sound of my voice. You might even be aware of the sound of your breathing, or at least the feeling of your breathing. It's probably coming to your attention now that I've mentioned it. And notice other sensations in your body. Maybe there are places that feel tense or even painful. Maybe there's just a sense of digestion happening, or contact with where you're sitting, or the touch of your hands or fingers. Whatever sensations are just there without having to go searching. You're noticing to begin with what's happening in your present experience. And you could bring your attention now to the situation in the world today, to the situation in your community, to the situation in your home. And when you think about that, especially maybe what's close to home, the relationships, the isolation, the challenges, the limitations, the would likes that are denied. What's evoked now? What shifts now? Do your thoughts change in some way? Do you have images or memories that are different? Are there feelings that go with those thoughts? Does your mood shift somehow? I know I'm saying these things quite rapidly, but it's to invite a way of paying attention that I'm sure you could practice later and spend more time with. As you think about the situation in your home, let's say, right now, and in the world right now, what happens bodily? What changes in your embodied experience? Is there a particular place in your body that seems to tighten up or generate some energy? Is there a place that's actually painful or seems to hold the pain of this situation? Just for a moment, become aware of how your whole embodied experience responds, shifts perhaps, changes in some way as you bring awareness to being in this COVID-19 situation. And then let that settle a little bit. Don't do anything in particular to try to change it. Just maybe take a breath or two. Bring your attention to your breathing, which brings you right into the present moment. And for the second part of this practice, Being With, think about for a moment the way everyone is challenged right now, and maybe those closest to you. Just rest your attention for a moment on your understanding of how much everyone is going through now, and we're all going through it differently. And maybe when you think about someone close to you, you can actually imagine or see in your mind's eye signs of their suffering, signs of their difficulties and their pain, maybe even their illness. And rest for a moment your attention on the way you and others suffer because of what's happening. But not to stay in the suffering, but to notice what that attention shifting to the suffering that others and even you experience right now. Can you feel a response? Maybe think of someone you particularly love and care for. I think about my grandchildren. And when you think about or imagine the kind of limitations and stress and suffering they may be experiencing right now, what does it call up? What changes in your embodied experience as a response to that? And it might be fear or anxiety. And is any part of it even close to a feeling of compassion? Can you feel your heart go out to those who are suffering, to the suffering that we're all experiencing right now? And then let that rest for a moment. And again, just notice the breath coming in, the breath going out, resting for a moment your attention simply on your breathing. And we'll move into the third part of this practice, which you could expand and do at a later time, as a meditation, in fact. And that is now, again, think about others that you care for, those close to you especially, and generally people in the world, and what you know of how people are responding and reacting to what's going on now in ways that inspire you. Maybe you think of one person in particular who is responding to this situation in a way that you feel inspired by. Or can you see in someone's face, in someone's way of being right now, perhaps someone close to you, a strength, a quality in them that touches you, makes you feel good about them and about humanity? And rest for a moment in the embodied experience of feeling inspired. And maybe you're inspired now. We hear it on the news all the time about the caregivers, the frontline workers, the healthcare people who are showing up day after day, 24/7, some of them, to care for others. Think about the strength and the courage that takes, and let yourself simply feel the embodied experience of being inspired. And then let that go and simply come back just for a moment to the simple movement of breath into and out of your body.